Hi, I'm Sean Altman, and you're watching a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it!
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Since July of 2021, Jake and his friends have interviewed professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and many more. Who will they be chatting with in this week's interview? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Happy here with us. As always, I'm your host, Jake Deffinbaugh. With me as always, co-host Chris Bixby. How are you, Chris?
Doing good, Jake. Hi, everybody. And our other co-host Matt will be here soon. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thank you for asking. Yes, no worries. Matt will be here in a bit during this interview, so no worries, everyone. So, Chris, what do we have for today?
Our guest for today, he is an actor. A lot of you may know him in the series Out of the Box for the first two seasons. We're here to talk about that, working with Tony and Vivian, whole bunch of things for Out of the Box that we'll talk about, and some of his theater acting, his work as a dancer. Here he is, Dane Hammond. Dane, happy to have you here.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. Absolutely.
Definitely. So to kick this off, so for those who don't know you, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so of course my name is Dane, and yeah, Out of the Box all the way back in 1998 was my first ever acting experience. The way that even happened, I'll try to keep the story a little short, but that all started from a newspaper ad that my parents and I saw. It just said new TV series for kids. And initially, I didn't want anything to do with it, but my parents, they're like, try it out, see what happens. So I just had to send in a picture of mine to the address that was given at the time. And I used my second grade picture, sent it in, and they liked it. I went on 5 different auditions for it, got into the show, and it turned out acting was like accidentally a passion of mine. Because, like I said, at the time, I never even thought of, getting into the field of acting and performing. But yeah, that was my first ever experience. And it's definitely one I'll always be thankful for. And since then, I did a couple of commercials as a child, guest spot on a couple TV shows, and then I took a break from it for a little bit, focusing on school. But then, starting in high school, I got into doing stage acting, theater. So I started doing straight plays and musicals. Even once I got into college, and after college, now living in Illinois, close to the Chicagoland area, I've been doing musicals and plays out here as well, which it's been a busy year and a half because ever since we got back from the pandemic, because we were supposed to do this musical called Something Rotten in 2020. We were supposed to open, I think, like the second or third week of March of 2020, and the day before we were supposed to open, that's when, COVID really came in full force and everything got shut down. But we were able to remount the following year in August. And since then, I've done about like 11 to 12 shows nearly back to back out here, which has been, like I said, it's been busy. But again, definitely thankful to have all the experiences that I've had since I've been living out here. Taking a little bit of a break right now just to kind of recenter myself. But yeah, so like I said, primarily I've just been, doing mostly musicals, but I've done a couple straight plays here and there. But yeah, every show's been a new great learning experience for me, and I plan to continue to do that for as long as I can.
Nice, that's awesome. So prior to getting into acting, how do you grow up and what was your childhood like?
So I'm born and raised in New Jersey for 18 years. And before my childhood, for the most part, like before Out of the Box started, like it was pretty, like what you would expect, a normal childhood for the most part. I was into drawing, playing video games. I'm still a gamer, but yeah, drawing, playing video games, music. That was like my core activities and hobbies at the time. Then, Out of the Box happened. So once I got into that, my childhood, it I wouldn't say it like changed drastically, but it definitely was a little bit different because for example, while doing the show, I didn't go into school normally. We had a tutor come in, and our tutor would collect work from our respective schools, bring it in, and we would do all of our schoolwork like at the studio. So, for the 2 seasons that I was with the show, like my childhood was a little, it was a little different compared to the average child. Because, like I said, I wasn't in school, I wasn't really hanging out with friends that much. But once once the show was over, though, it got a little more normal again, so to speak. Um, of course, every now and then, like there would be people who would recognize, that I was on the show. So it took a little getting used to, having to deal with that because obviously, I wasn't prepared for, what the quote unquote aftermath would be, after leaving the show. But yeah, it
Right.
was for the most part, it was like a mix of normal with a little bit of weird at the time. And not necessarily like when I say weird, I don't really mean it in a bad way. It's just like I said,
Right.
I just wasn't prepared for how that would how it would affect me and affect others in the long run, after being on the show.
Right. So now in terms of out of the box, like how did you kind of discover the show and I guess land the role?
Yeah, so again, it was from a little ad in the newspaper. It just said new TV series for kids, and we just had to send in a picture. And because like I said, I went on 5 auditions. I really can only remember the first one because whatever place I had to go to, I was with other kids in the room, and they wanted us to sing a song of our choosing. And of all songs for
Hmm.
me to choose, there was this one Hanukkah-based song that I had learned like really early on
I
as a
remember
kid. So
that Hanukkah episode,
I
yeah.
chose to sing that.
Oh.
Yeah. And I guess, clearly they must have liked it because, after that, there were 4 other auditions I went on. And again, unfortunately, I can't really remember the other 4. I know at least at one of them, it might have been maybe the fourth or fifth. I, if I remember correctly, I think they had a script of an episode, probably wasn't finalized, but I definitely read a scene of some kind. Again, though, details are very fuzzy. I cannot pinpoint exactly what it was, but I feel like I read a scene of some kind. But yeah, I did the 5 auditions total, and then they accepted me, put me on the show.
Nice. Nice.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So
Definitely.
now, what was it like getting to work with Tony, Vivian, and the rest of the child cast for the first time?
It was definitely scary at first because again, I was thrown into it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, because part of me is kind of like, what am I getting myself into?
Right, and you're
But
also seeing
what
all these new people that you haven't met before.
exactly, and plus, working in front of because no joke, I'll embarrass myself right now. The the first day of recording my first episode, which was the Wheels one, I threw up because I was so
Oh,
nervous.
wow.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I was so nervous, and at one point, yeah, I just blew chunks. But after that was done, I got more used to it because I realized Tony and Vivian were really great to work with. They were so nice, so supportive, and working with the other kids was great. So I would say outside of my quick, nervous episode, like I fell into it pretty quickly and easily. Because seriously, after that, I don't remember like I was able to handle everything pretty well.
Definitely. And the cool thing about Out of the Box is that was like one of Playhouse Disney's first like
Right.
shows
Yeah.
because Bear was first, then PB&J, and then
Hmm.
Roly Poly Oly, and then Out of the
Yeah,
Box.
we were the original lineup for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Absolutely. So I'm kind of curious, are there any out of the box episodes that kind of like stick out as some of your favorites?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think. Box Full of Boxes was definitely one of my favorites to do. Because at the time, Nicholas and Alicia, the 3 of us, we were pretty close. So, and we rarely ever got to do any episodes together. So that was one of maybe 2 episodes where all 3 of us were together because we were all together for that one, which was a lot of fun to do. Especially like I remember when we were like creating that box for that story section. That was a lot of fun to do. And then the Christmas episode as well, which was my final episode. That's another one of my favorites. Definitely bittersweet, of course, but it was definitely a special one, obviously for it being based around the holidays, and that was the only episode where there were five of us instead of just the
Hmm.
usual three. Um, yeah, that was a very emotional one to get through, of course, but that was another favorite of mine. And I know there's another. Oh, Ships Ahoy. That's another one I really enjoyed from the first season. And I know there's another one. I had to like go on Disney Plus to check it out because it's obviously it's been a while. But yeah, they're
Right.
like those are the three that stick out to me the most right now. But I know if I go back, I'm sure I can pinpoint some other ones that were favorites of mine. But those three in
Mhm.
particular.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. That Christmas one I used to own on a VHS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still have it.
Oh,
I
nice.
still have the
Nice.
VHS of that.
Nice. And another thing I'm kind of curious about. So Out of the Box also filmed in the same location that shows like Bear in the Big Blue House and Sesame Street filmed at. Did you ever get to visit any of those sets?
We did. Well, I didn't visit the set of Bear in the Big Blue House, but we did meet some of them. Yeah, because the studio we worked in was right next to theirs. And I remember there was one day the person who was in the bear costume, we did
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
get to
Noah
meet him and
McNeil.
talk to
Yeah.
him.
Yes.
Yeah. As for Sesame Street, though, I never got to see any of that at all.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, similarly with the episodes, do you have any favorite songs you sang on the show?
Favorite songs. Sing a song. I think was that the name of the song? Maybe that was the name of the episode, and I'm realizing that's another favorite of mine. But whatever songs we sang in that episode, I liked those. The Witch Hat song, I liked. Obviously, the Goodbye song. Everybody loves the Goodbye song.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's still iconic to this day.
Yeah, it's huge on
Um,
TikTok.
Oh my
right? Yeah,
gosh, when
I've been
Tony and
noticing
Vivian
that.
first
Yeah,
got on TikTok, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
and they
so
did it
many
together. Oh my
fans were like,
gosh.
"Oh my gosh, it's
yeah,
doing
Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause,
Out of the Box." I remember that show.
Yeah, because the other day, Alicia, she saw somebody sing the song on TikTok and she put it in her story on Instagram and shared it with me. And I was like, I can't believe that this is still, like it's still making an
Still an
impact on
iconic
people
show,
to this
yeah.
day. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, I'm trying to think. The songs that we sang in the Fuzzy Worm episode also
Mm.
I liked. That was another, you know what? That was another favorite episode of mine. I actually have some trivia about that episode.
Oh wow.
Huh.
Yeah. So if you remember at the beginning of it, Tony was introducing, himself, like, hey, everyone, and he had a baby picture with him.
Oh,
That baby
okay, yeah.
picture,
Oh.
yeah, that baby picture was actually mine, not
Oh
his.
wow.
Yeah, it was my, yeah,
Wow.
because they, of course they, had asked him, like, do you have any baby pictures to bring in? And he didn't have any. So they came to me. They were like, would you be okay and willing to do that? So yeah, that baby picture was mine. And then,
Wow.
yeah, and then the butterfly, that picture that was made, I did design that. Granted, the final product was touched up by the props and arts department,
Of
but as
course,
far
yeah.
as like the
Yeah.
design of the butterfly itself, they asked me to come up with it, so I did design that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah. So
Nice.
that's another special like favorite episode of mine.
Nice. And
Awesome.
on the topics of arts and crafts, what was it like doing the arts and crafts segments?
The arts and crafts segments were fun to do, because those were our moments to kind of do what we want. I mean, obviously the craft itself, yes, we had a specific way of doing it, but as far as like interacting with each other, we could just do what we wanted. So like that was really cool to just kind of just really be ourselves in that moment and do the crafts. And the other reason why it was cool too, because unlike a lot of these other shows that were geared towards kids, we really, like for example, be like, oh, did you finish that box of Lucky Charms? You know what? Don't throw it out. We're going to show you how to make something out of it. So it was cool to like obviously do it ourselves and also just show people at home, like, whatever's around you, you can turn it into something else. Like just because you might be done with it doesn't mean it has to be trash. You can completely transform it into something else.
Definitely.
So
So So now I'm kind of curious about another segment on that show. What's it like getting to do the story time
Oh, the
segments?
story time sections. Okay. Those at first were a little nerve-wracking to me because, outside of the rest of the episode, which, for the most part were ourselves, we had to play a different character
Yeah.
throughout for the story. And
Yeah.
again, for now, I don't remember which, because again, Wheels was my first episode, but I'm trying to even think, did we do a story in that episode? We had to have. If we did, I don't remember what it is. But whatever my first story was, I'm pretty sure I was a little nervous about it because, again, this was my first ever acting experience.
Mhm.
So I wasn't, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, like I definitely was just nervous about like, how well I was going to do with the story, whatever character I was playing. After a while, though, it just became a lot of fun to do because
Right.
a lot of the times we were just doing a lot of wacky, fun stuff. And of course, the directors that we had, as well as Tony and Vivian, like I said, everybody was always very supportive about everything. So, like I said, at first, yes, it was nerve wracking, but eventually, it just became a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
Of course, definitely. And I'm kind of curious. So after your time on the show was done, did you get to keep anything from the set at all?
I did get to keep the butterfly picture that I told you about. I got to keep that.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Oh.
yeah, and that was pretty much it because just about everything else, um, yeah, everything else was like their own, creations for the set. So like I don't even think it's just me. Like I don't think any of us like really, got to like keep anything or take anything home. Again though, I'm good with just being able to keep my butterfly creation. Like I'm completely fine with that. But yeah, that's the only thing I was able to keep after I left the show.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So now, do you still keep in touch with anyone from Out of the Box?
I've mostly kept in touch with Alicia,
Oh
and there
yeah,
was a period of time I was keeping in touch with Nick. It's been a long time, but with Alicia, every now and then, yeah, we still keep in touch with each other.
nice,
Yeah.
Wonderful.
nice. So kind of moving on from out of the box, you've also done a bit of acting in theater. Can you kind of talk about some of your theater work?
Sure. So, yeah, so there's this musical called Something Rotten, which originally premiered in 2015, if I remember correctly, on Broadway. Then it was taken off Broadway and became, a show that people could just do in community theater. So that was not like my first major musical to do, but it was like one of the first musicals I did where I had like somewhat of a prominent character role going on. And that was a lot of fun to do. So, what that show is about, just to give some backstory on it, it's a very funny show. It's about these two characters called Nick and Nigel Bottom. And it takes place in 1593, back when Shakespeare, was alive and thriving. And these two writers are jealous of him, and they want to get into the whole theater writing business, and pretty much put Shakespeare out of business. So, because of this ridiculous plot, obviously the show as a whole is crazy. He meets the soothsayer Nostradamus to, figure out, pretty much like cheat his way forward. Now, Nick, the two brothers, they also work with a troupe. One of these characters is named Robin, who I played in the show. And Robin is pretty much, he's vapid. He wears a dress the whole time. He is just clueless about everything that's going on. And pretty almost like the whole phrase of, all the world's a stage that Shakespeare came up with.
Hmm.
That's how Robin behaves. So I really just went with it and put on like a Southern Belle type of accent. I just had a lot of fun with the role. Since then, though, I've also done White Christmas a few times. I got some tap dancing in because that's one of my favorite dance styles to do. Um, if either of you have heard of La Cage aux Folles at all, I've done that. I played Jacob in that with Ginger Minge from RuPaul's Drag Race. I got
Oh
to
wow.
perform with her, which was a lot of fun. She was fantastic because
Huh.
she played the lead role, Zaza, and she was born for that role. Let's just put it that way. And she proved it.
Oh.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I did this play Fences. That was one of the few straight plays I've done out here, and that was an interesting process. And that was more on Fences is more on the dramatic side because I've done mostly like musical comedies, but every now and then I've done like a drama here and there. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of another good one I've done. Um, sorry, because like I said, it was like back-to-back shows for like the past year and a half, and so much has gone on. Well, another favorite show of mine, granted, this is definitely not exactly Disney friendly, but I did do this show called The Full Monty. I don't know if either of you have heard of that show. At first, it was a movie back in the 90s. It was turned into a musical. It's actually it's about these six guys that they're all financially unstable and they're trying to figure out, like what can we do to make some more money, get some more stability in our lives. And then they meet this character named Keno, who is a stripper at Chippendales. And I ended up playing that character, and he inspired the other ones, just be like, hey, why not try this out? And honestly, it was a very fun role to do and a very fun show to do. It was actually my second time doing it. I did it first in college and did it again this time out here. So that was a very freeing experience because I had to open the show with a big strip number, believe it or not. I did it though. I did it, and it was a lot of fun. I do it again. um, yeah. Well, and I'm trying to. Oh, and there's one of the latest shows I did was called Pippin. That's been a popular musical for a while. I was in the ensemble for that. Pippin is about this character named Pippin, and pretty much everything that goes on the stage, where is not actually it's pretty much everything that's happening within his head. It's kind of like a coming of age type of story. And Pippin basically is just trying to find his place in life, find meaning. And the ensemble basically reflects different, aspects of his life, how he feels, the different characters that he meets, what he wants out of life. Like we demonstrate and portray the different aspects of his life, his feelings, emotions, things like that. And that was the last show I did under normal circumstances. What I mean by that is the actual last show I did do recently. I got thrown into the show called Passing Strange, which is a similar type of concept to Pippin. The way I got thrown into it, so I had two friends that were in the show that I've worked with prior, and they had contacted me because they had an understudy for their show who had to leave the process because they had some type of family emergency going on. So they asked me, they told me like what the track was like, what I would have to do. So I accepted it. Initially, I wasn't going to because I was planning on taking, a long break after Pippin was done. But I was like, you know what? This sounds kind of intriguing. Why not? I'll help you guys out.
Yeah.
So I went to see the show the following day after I agreed to do this. I was planning on seeing it anyway, but obviously, my other incentive for seeing it was to start, learning the show because they were already in the middle of performing it. Like they had already started their run. So I was like, all right, I need to start learning how this goes. They gave me the scripts. They gave me the files of the songs that I needed to sing. But then there's more. So I was supposed to, I was scheduled to just go on for one performance on July 22nd, pretty much a one and done. But then the actor that normally was going to be out for that day, he injured himself after one of their Saturday performances because I was hanging out at a friend's house like very early in the morning, and then I get a text message saying, hey, would you be comfortable with performing tomorrow? And I'm freaking out because I'm like, this wasn't the deal. Like, I'm not ready at all. Like, it's only been a week. What's going on? And then they tell, seriously, in the moment, like my heart just jumped up into my throat because I'm like, what's happening right now? I was not prepared for this. So I mean, I was honest with him. I told him, I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, like I'm not, I'm just not ready for this because it was way too short notice for what happened. But then, they understood. So what happened was they canceled the following Sunday performance, turned it into a rehearsal for me, which was super helpful. We just like sped through the show. And at that point, because they also gave me a video of their last dress rehearsal to refer to, which also was helpful. So, like I watched it and I had the script and I would write down all the blocking of, the character that I was playing. So like I already had that solidified, but I definitely wasn't memorized or off book or anything, which is the main reason why I was like, I don't feel comfortable. I'm definitely not ready to do this yet. So they turned that, what was supposed to be a Sunday night performance, canceled it, turned it into a rehearsal, did that. And then that following Tuesday, which we had already planned to be somewhat of a rehearsal, came in for that. And then, like I said, since this actor that I stepped in for injured himself, I ended up going on for that entire weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow.
So, yeah, so because of that, I learned an entire show in like 9 days, which I didn't think I was capable of. But I was like, you know what? I signed up to do this. I agreed to do it. And these things happen. Like, this is the reason why the phrase, the show must go on, exists.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I went with it. And I mean, it went really well. And despite how, crazy it was for me, like it really was a rewarding experience because the show itself, even when I was just watching the show, like I genuinely enjoyed every minute of it. And for me as an audience member, doing the amount of shows I have, like I'll admit, it's tough for me to just, go out to see a show and just sit there and enjoy it. Like, I'm looking at every aspect of it. But I really, like I said, just watching it the first time, I was like, everybody on stage is doing great. The band is great. Like, I have no complaints. So, like I said, despite the ridiculousness of the circumstances, I'm really thankful that I was able to be part of it and even be thrown into it the way that I was. Because, like I said, I learned a new skill. I can learn a show in a very short amount of time and do it. So,
Right.
yeah.
Definitely. And this is our other co-host, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey,
How
Matt.
are you?
Hello, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm good, Jakey. How are you doing?
It's great here. Doing good. Thank you.
Good, good. How you doing, Chris?
Doing all right.
Good,
Doing
good.
good.
Happy to- Good.
Yes.
So now you also worked as a dancer. How did that come into play for you?
How did what come into play?
Dancing.
Sorry.
Dancing, yeah.
Oh, dancing. That that basically happened throughout. That started in high school because excuse me, I went to two different high schools. One was a vocational and technical high school, or VOTech for short. These pretty much acted as like college prep type of schools, and they had an acting department. There, well, really a whole theater department, but I was in the acting portion of it. They also had a musical theater division and then a dancing division. Every now and then, though, throughout each year, they would have, teachers from each one like go to the other one just to give like a quick little like master class of sorts. So a couple of times the dance, I believe her name was Sheila, she would give us, like little dance classes here and there. There was even one time, I think during my junior year of high school, we had an African dance master class, which was awesome. And since then, once I moved on to college doing musicals over there, obviously by default, if you're in a musical, 9 times out of 10, you got to dance. So that I like, I don't really have like a lot of like, I haven't taken like a lot of classes per se, but with the shows that I've done, I treat them in a sense like classes because, no matter what, every time you're doing a show, you're learning something. So I definitely learned a lot of, different dancing skills through doing these musicals because, like especially when it comes to tap dancing, I've never done tap prior to being in a musical before. But it ended up being a lot of fun. Same thing with ballet, jazz, contemporary, and then along with being in musicals, like once I became a junior, I was required as a theater major to take at least 2 dance classes. So obviously, yeah. And those were very fruitful and rewarding because for our final for the 2 years that I had to take a dance class, everyone in the class had to come up with their own routine. It could be anything of our choice, which was a little scary at first, but it was helpful because we had the choice to either do it solo or we could pair up with either one other person or two, something like that. Yeah, so like I said, it started with high school and basically just continued through the different shows that I would do with dancing. And then every now and then, I haven't done it lately, but there was a period of time I also would just do like my own dance covers meaning where I would find a routine on YouTube, that I liked. And I'm like, you know what? I want to teach that to myself. I want to try it myself and, do my own video of it. So I've done a few of those. Again, the last one I did was probably almost 10 years ago at this point. It's been a while. But yeah, that's how I got into dancing, really, just from doing shows.
Nice. Nice. And you've also done some gaming on Twitch. I saw you've done some of that. Can you talk a bit about doing that?
Yeah, I just recently started doing that, so I am a complete beginner at the whole streaming thing. Um, but yeah, I mean that again, gaming is just rooted. That all originates from my childhood. I ever since the NES came out and Tetris, I started playing Tetris. It just got worse from then on. I've just been obsessed with it. But yeah, I'm pretty much just doing the gaming on Twitch for fun right now. If it does, blossom into something serious, cool. But right now, like I said, I'm just doing it for fun because I don't have like all the necessary equipment to like, start a true professional channel. And on top of that, with me wanting to continue doing theater, I can't promise that, I would be able to have a steady, schedule with my Twitch channel. But like I said, for now, I pretty much just stream like games from my childhood and series that I've always enjoyed throughout my life, like Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario, Mega Man, Tetris, things like that. So like I said, for right now, I'm primarily just doing it just for fun, just as a little hobby at the moment.
Nice.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you have any favorite video games to play, whether on stream or off?
Oh God, too many to count, but, I'll name a couple though. Because I was just streaming it on Sunday because I did a Sonic Sunday stream where I was playing on Sonic Origins Plus, which is a recent collection of the older Genesis Sonic games. But Sonic 3 and Knuckles in particular, to this day, hands down, my favorite Sonic game of all time and one of my favorite games of all time just in general. So that one, DDR just in general, because I used to be obsessed with DDR back in my teenage years. I'll still throw down on it today. I'm not as great, but I can still play. But yeah, DDR, Mega Man, primarily, oh my God, because there's like 50 of those games, but like Mega Man 8, even though I know that's not a favorite with Mega Man fans, but I don't care. I love that one. Mega Man X4 is one of my favorites. As for more modern games, though, like more recently released ones, Cuphead, I love that game.
Yes, it's great.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, I mean it's brutal, but I love it.
Yes, it's really brutal.
It is such a
brutal.
brutal game, but it's such a fantastic game because I remember when it first came out. I didn't have it when it first came out because I didn't have an Xbox One, and I prayed. I was like, please let this come to Switch, and it did. So I was like, great. But just the whole 1930s animation aesthetic, that's what really caught my eye because I definitely grew up watching Looney Tunes a lot and Tom and Jerry, and I still love that animation style. So just to see that replicated in a video game, I was like, yeah, I need that. I wasn't prepared at first at how difficult it was, but I got used to it.
I don't think anybody was.
Yeah.
I think the 30s animation caught a lot of people's eyes, which I really love as well. I love a mix of old and the new. I'm all for it.
Yeah. Like I definitely, nostalgia. I mean, let's face it, nostalgia is in now. Hardcore. So like anything that, remotely regards like that time period, the 90s, like, yes, I'm all about it. Because speaking of that, like the most recent Ninja Turtles game, Shredder's Revenge, that's another favorite of mine. I play it at least once a week. And I've streamed that as well. So yeah, those, I'll just leave it at that because like I said, I could go on all night about this. And then, as my last one, I'll just say Tetris Effect. That's another favorite of mine because Tetris is another one. I grew up playing it for years. I still do. So yeah.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely. So since we're getting close to wrapping up, to anyone watching or listening out there, what would you like to say to those who have supported you throughout your career, especially, with Out of the Box?
I definitely just want to say thank you so much. I'm very appreciative of the support. Because just as a prime example, like even after I left the show, even in recent years, every now and then I'll tell somebody about it, or they might find out, and like they're just like, "Oh my God, that was my favorite show." And honestly, it catches me by surprise, and I love it because, unlike a lot of the other shows when we were kids, like there was no merchandising done. We only had the 2 episodes released on VHS, so I went a long time thinking that no one really cared about the show. But then, when I find out that people really loved it, it does mean a lot. Like I really, seriously, like I said, I love everyone for that. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm very appreciative of it. And for anyone else out there who also, who love these shows and is trying to get into, acting, theater, whatever, I would definitely say just do trust yourself, be yourself, and, don't be afraid to get into it and show your stuff, basically.
Absolutely great advice.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. There were also the compilation CDs that Playhouse Disney had in the early 2000s that had some of the out of the box songs as well. I remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think
I never knew that.
Which ones had them? I think it was the first one.
First two.
First two,
yeah.
I still have
first
my
the third one I
copy of
think was
Playhouse
after
Disney.
the show went off the air.
I think so, yeah,
Okay.
like just after. Yeah.
Okay,
I still have my childhood copy of Playhouse Disney 2. That was like 2003.
I can see it on my shelf.
Mine is somewhere. I don't know, but a lot of really good songs from that show.
Okay, that's news to me. I've heard of these compilation CDs, but I never would have guessed that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, a couple out of the box songs.
After we're done here, I can DM you and send you like links to.
Yeah. We could totally do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we ask this last question here, if people would like to connect with you, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook as my stage name, Dane Strange, or you can find me on Instagram as 1990, the word 19 _ number 9 _ D, because of course I have to be complicated about it. But yeah, that's it. Because honestly, I don't really do social media that much, but like I said, primarily Facebook, Instagram, you can find me on those.
Nice. Links to those will be in the description for people to connect. So the last question that Jake's about to ask is the question we ask all of our guests at the end. Go ahead, Jake.
Yes. Thank you, Chris. So, of course, this podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Hey, look at that. So, when you think of nostalgia, what do you think of, or in your own words, how would you define the word nostalgia?
How would I define the word nostalgia? I would have to say a happy place.
Definitely.
Yeah, because I can't elaborate on that more if you want me to.
Yeah, if you want to,
okay,
sure.
Of course.
Because I know it probably sounds kind of silly, but what I mean by that, because let's face it, the world right now is a little crazy. But I know for me, like there are some things from my childhood. Like, yes, I'm 33 years old now, but you know what? There are some things from my childhood that I really hold on to because it just reminds me of a much simpler time, a time where I truly, just felt happier in general. Things were more fun. Yeah. To me, like I said, I would define nostalgia for me as a happy place. Entirely.
Absolutely. Great words to end off. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Dane, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview
Of
on our
course, thanks for
podcast. This is
having me.
amazing.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, for what you've done over the years, especially what you've done for our box and be a part of our lives. Keep up the great work, and can't wait what's next in store for you. Yeah, of course.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yes. Enjoy the rest of your day. Keep in touch, and I'll let you know when this goes up.
All right, cool.
All right. Take
You guys
care,
enjoy
Dane.
your night too.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Likewise.
All right, bye.
Take care, Dane.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Yes.
And it's goodbye from us as well. We absolutely
Yes,
enjoyed
yes,
our
indeed.
time. Dane, Hammond, oh my gosh. He's
Yes.
great.
Yes. Out of the Box was a show that I definitely grew up with a lot because, like I said, it was one of like the I guess
first
original
Playhouse Disney
shows.
yeah.
It was in that
Mhm.
kind of group. But as always, keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews. And as always, what do we say, Jake?
Keep nostalgia alive. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show interview. Be sure to follow Jake and the crew on social media and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.